If there is one constant in life, it's change. Change can be uncomfortable, but it's also the pathway to the future. Change is coming, whether we're ready or not, and that's true of our drum and bugle corps activity. Hey, change is what DCI is all about. Let's see what some of those who've helped shape that change over these past 50 years feel about it today.
When I started writing for the Madison Scouts in the 80s, I'd write the arrangements, and then somebody would write the percussion music, then somebody would write the drill, then somebody would write the color guard, and I went in that order. No longer is that the way we design drum corps shows or competitive high school marching band shows.
There is a better, fuller collaboration between visual designer, music arranger, percussion arranger, front ensemble arranger, color guard designer, artistic director who's kind of steering the boat, with all keeping everybody on the same task.
I think the best shows are led by someone who has a very clear vision and knows how to develop that vision. The collaboration and the number of people involved to help that person put the show together has grown significantly, and I certainly think it has made the shows much more rewarding.
When thinking about the different way we do drill and staging and props and all the kinds of things that have also evolved to a great extent, you're also thinking, how can I get those moments that I want the brass line to have, yet create space for these other things to shine? And of course, the design meetings, a lot of that is a major part of the discussion of who's got this moment, who's got this moment. I look at my old brass charts I would write for the Scouts back in the 80s and 90s or 2000s, and I don't see a lot of holes. I see a lot of notes. I see a lot of brass. I must have driven our percussion writers crazy because, I had these ideas and I want to put them all down, and that was kind of drum corps in the 80s, 90s. Now we're in a scenario where every element is equally important, and it's our job to interweave all those ideas together. So there's just a lot more to think about in that regard when you sit down to write the notes.
We have this enormous stage. It's not an auditorium, it's not a gym floor. It's 100-yard long stage in this enormous stadium. So, the evolution of props as it's come along, well, it's gotten really off the deep end, for what we were used to, from when I grew up, which was nothing or a flag. That was a prop back then, or a ball or something like that.
It's not enough to just be doing the marching and the playing, the X's and O's. It has to be everything else as well. So we are still the best marchers, in my opinion. We still play the best. We have the most complicated shows. But if we are not incorporating those props along with it, then are we the leaders of the activity?
We're not sitting in a concert hall. We're not kind of, doing something that is taken from somebody else. We're taking music, we are extrapolating it, we are creating it and arranging it for our own purposes, needs on a football field to impress those fans and those crowds. We have moved over the last 10 to 15 years to that direction, and I just don't think it's going to change. It's going to keep evolving.
It's made that 100-yard stage that we have big enough for the audience that comes to watch it. I think that because of that, more people in our setting get to feel like they're part of the show than this central core of an audience that traditionally had been the most fortunate in drum corps shows, not the people that are sitting at the 30-yard lines on each side or even the 20-yard lines.
We have our traditionalists. We still have people that are upset that we went from piston rotor bugles to 2-valve bugle. On the electronics and sound side, it's the same type of thing. It's an evolution. You have your people who are uncomfortable with it, either because it's not tradition, or they're uncomfortable with the technology. They don't understand what it is.
Art challenges, and if you're bringing in new personalities and generations of people, it's their time to do it and say what they want to say.
It's not a good or bad for me. It's just part of the evolution of what we continue to do to make our productions the best they can be. But it's challenging.
It's a different challenge now. It is about financial challenge. It is about the struggle of that. It is about the demands that our teams want to give the kids from a creative standpoint. It's about the props. It's about the costumes every year. It's about the equipment that I talked about that we used to build ourselves. A kitchen truck now costs $400,000. It cost us $60,000 15 years ago to do it ourselves.
I love the innovation and the designers, stretching their ideas. It's awesome. But it does become a little more difficult because we have height restrictions at the stadiums, and people are bringing props in that are 18 feet and only a 10-foot tunnel. The electronics have really become challenging. At a stadium like Lucas Oil Stadium, you have enough power. But when you go to the Manning Bowl in Lynn, Massachusetts, and you plug in the amplification, you blow out all the lights.
When you look at the history of this activity, specifically, I think over the last 25, 30 years and how it's evolved, how it's grown, what have we seen happen? We've seen the move from G bugles, where I played on a G bugle, 2-valve, then a 3-valve G bugle. To in the early 2000s, the B-flat instrument, which of course at the time was a big deal, and now looking back you see what a natural move that was, especially for retaining and recruiting high school band members. And then it almost feels like the activity's evolving at light speed now. But I'll say this, I think about my life now as the program coordinator for an organization like the Blue Coats, and I think about the values that I feel like mattered to me coming up through the activity in the early 90s. I don't know if those values have changed. I think what still, makes drum corps, which is the kids, the incredible things that they're able to do, that all those are still there. There might be some more bells and whistles. It might look a little bit different, but the creative process with the Blue Coats feels no different. The spirit and what this is, to me, that has never changed. It's just evolved the way the activity has always evolved.